All right, welcome back to the Tater Talk podcast. And today I've got the Troyer brothers, fourth generation potato farmers who literally are betting the farm on organic. And they're not just changing how they're farming, um, they're building a brand. They built a brand, they built a factory in the frozen French fry business, a business dominated by giants. So, Zach and Colt of the Folkland Farms team. Thanks for joining the pod.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, great
It's
to
been
be
a
here.
journey, but you've been a part of it too, so it's good to see you again.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to have met you guys a couple years ago and have been working with you on and watching you build this business. And it's been a very interesting story of perseverance and grit and risk. And I'm really looking forward to digging into that today and sharing that with our listeners. So, first of all, let's let's get to know a bit about you guys. So let's start with Colt. So tell us a bit about your background, Colt, and and what your role is in the farm and in Folkland.
Yeah, so I mean, my life and role has developed quite a bit over the last 2 years, I would say. Born and raised potato farmer in Northwest Pennsylvania. It's what I've done for most of my life. Went to school for finance, came out of that, worked in real estate for a little while as well, but knew ultimately that I wanted to end up working back on the family farm and building something again alongside my brother. So after we both came back to the farm and started working here again, worked towards launching a brand and uh, a facility. And um, my role has since developed into the co-founder and director of sales of Folkland, and actually officially retired from the farm as of January 1st. But in my 18 and a half years as a potato farmer, I'm officially a Folkland employee and a director of sales. So,
You're officially a food manufacturer, uh,
yes.
not a farmer. Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Colt. How about you, Zach?
Yeah, so similar beginning to Colt. Grew up on the family farm, um, with the also with the family business, which I think we'll probably get into with the potato
Hmm.
chip business my grandfather started. So we got to see a bit of that. Um, but yeah, I always had a huge passion for farming, and I knew from a very young age that I was going to be a farmer, and that's what I wanted to make my career in. And so I went to school and got a degree in agronomy from Penn State. And yeah, after school, worked in mainly the potato industry for some other larger commercial farms across the country, a little bit out west, a little bit here in Pennsylvania. And then I worked in the CBD industry for 3.5 years because there was kind of a hemp boom that happened in 2018, 2019. And so I worked for one of the leading CBD hemp companies called Lazarus Naturals, and I out in Oregon, Central Oregon, not too far away from the big potato regions of the Columbia Basin.
Right.
Um, but really unique experience, very formative. It was a startup business, vertically integrated manufacturing, and so I ended up running their farm essentially. Right, grew
Uh,
several hundred acres of CBD hemp, and we turned it from a very manual, labor intensive crop into something completely mechanized, basically by the end. Within 3.5 years. So, anyways, I did that, and then really missed growing food instead of what's essentially cannabis. So it was a great experience. I'm glad I did it, but wanted to come back to the family farm. Colt had recently came back, um, and yeah, we just wanted to start something here together. And so I came back and started running the farm here with Colt and doing the agronomy um, and then coming up with business ideas, which we'll get into. So, yeah.
so we're gonna get into some of these business ideas, and what really struck me when I first met you guys was that the Troyer family is very entrepreneurial. It struck me that you've got a long history. I said you're fourth generation. So walk us through some of the history of the Troyer family farm there in Pennsylvania and the food manufacturing and how that kind of formed your kind of trajectory into this business now.
Yeah. I mean, it was formative to everything we've done thus far in our lives, really. That started all the way back in the Dust Bowl. Actually, that was when
Mhm.
our our grandpa and his family moved from Nebraska to Northwest Pennsylvania. And that's when they started growing potatoes for the first time in Pennsylvania back in 50s, Zach, something like
Well, I
that.
mean, they would have moved in the 30s when they
30s
moved
when they
back.
moved. Yeah.
Yep. And then they were growing some potatoes on the home farm.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Originally dairy farmers, but
yep.
then started trying to grow potatoes on the side because they thought, it's a nice little side crop. And then as the family lore goes, supposedly the first year they grew potatoes, they paid for the whole home farm with the crop that they got off of it. That's when they decided that that was probably the more lucrative way to go rather than dairy farming. Um, so
Yeah.
there
I
was
think things have changed in the potato industry. I don't think you're going to pay off the whole farm with a crop.
Not in one
we're not,
crop season.
No.
Yeah.
no, we're not trying to talk people into betting the whole farm on it like that. But yeah, that was kind of the story, to start. But then as our grandpa and his brother got older, that's where they really focused. They just continued to grow more and more potatoes. Got the first potato planter, continued to grow more. We're very manual business back then. We're hand bagging potatoes out in the field in burlap sacks, load those sacks onto potato trucks, drive those trucks, to the nearest rail car or to the nearest factory or back to the storage, which was just a big barn that they dumped the sacks back out in the barn, so we're pretty lucky, with having all the mechanical farming we do now, but that's how they kind of got their start. And then we're selling to regional chip manufacturers and, thought to themselves like, hey, why don't we just do that ourselves? The real farming mentality of, we'll just do every step of this business. And so do you know like the real nitty gritty details of like how they first started making their first batch of chips?
I
I'm not
don't.
even
I don't know
sure.
what the facility looked like. I got to imagine it was pretty ramshackle, though, knowing those guys, because I know what they ended with, and what they ended with. The big factory was pretty ramshackle. So I'm guessing when they started, it was pretty crude.
Yeah, it's probably just a vat of lard in the barn, slicing some
Mhm.
potatoes and taking them to the grocery store. Um, but yeah, they ended up finding a lot of success with that at the time with the regional snack food brand. And I think, was it the 50s or 60s when the brand actually started taking off? Um,
60s, yeah.
yeah, Troyer Farms was the name of the brand. And
Mhm.
yeah, saw really rapid growth through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and grew into a pretty sizable regional brand. And outside of just chips, grew into all kinds of snack foods, tortilla chips, pretzels, extruded snacks. But we're pretty much, the whole northeast of the country at the time, and the farming mentality wanted to do every step of business. So they had their own trucking company, their own route vans,
They
even
did all of their own direct store delivery. So like you don't like the big companies do
Oh,
that
wow.
now, right? Like Frito-Lay does their own DSD, but most consumer packaged goods brands are not doing all of their own distribution and direct store delivery. They use distribution partners. These guys they were doing every piece of the transportation from the factory to the end user. And then they were also like, there was a gas shortage, and was it the 80s?
Mhm.
Uh, and so they were getting cut off. They were getting rationed on natural gas to run the fryer. And so they went out and they were like the first people in our county to go drill gas wells. They went out and just started popping gas wells and laying a network of pipelines back to the factory so that nobody could shut them off of gas anymore. Um, like I, it had to have been hundreds of miles of pipeline connecting all this stuff together. Um, and what else, Colt? What else did they do? Uh,
You know, had our own mechanics to service the entire fleet,
the whole
had
truck fleet, obviously the farm.
warehouses.
They were growing a large portion of the potatoes, warehouses, kind of all over the region they were selling. Um, Talked about starting their own bank. I don't think they didn't do that.
They
Got
drew
that.
the line at banking, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
But really complete vertical integration over time, really owning so much of the supply chain, and
yeah.
the value chain. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And
Well,
what became of the Troyer snacks business?
so it got sold off in 2008, right, Colt?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. After
So
they had bought two other brands at that point too, a couple other regional factory brands. So I think it was 4 banners altogether. Plums, Seifert's, Andy. I think there was one other one as
yeah.
well.
But in any case, it became a tough business in the late 2000s, like everything was. Um and the super consolidated business, like Frito-Lay owned the large share of the market.
Mhm.
Uh, and they took on way too much, all that vertical integration that at one point gave them a ton of advantages became a bunch of overhead and parasitic draw on the business. Is what
Mm.
that's mine and Colt's interpretation, at least. We don't know exactly, um, but got too complicated maybe to be managed well.
Yes.
So ended up getting sold off, and um, yeah, still we sit right next to that factory today, and it's now back in operation under different ownership.
Mhm.
But needless to say, that left Colt and I with uh, some desire to do something similar because we never really got a chance to work within that business.
You
Uh,
weren't in that manufacturing business.
No,
It
I mean, at
was
that
sold
time,
off before you were back at the farm and ready to get involved.
yeah,
we had
Yeah.
always worked on the farm. I mean, I was, I guess probably 12 when that had sold. So, I was probably not even carrying my weight on the farm yet. I was picking hops and grading potatoes and breaking equipment at that point. So,
Mhm. So you guys came back to the farm at the same time, and you were farming potatoes, and then you then you kind of had this idea of organic farming. Is that what came out of your guys' collaboration, or was it already in place before you came back?
see, that had been a long time coming. So we had,
Okay.
back before we both moved back to the farm, way back
Mm-hmm.
in, I don't know, 2014, 2015, we had been talking about it. It had been a dream of mine, as soon as I really, got into college and got into my career. I was very interested in organic production. Um, and probably because from family influences. So, like, my dad's family's uh, rural conservative farmers. My mom's family is much different. World travelers, food people,
Mm-hmm.
artists, musicians. Like, so we had a really good balance of those kind of two influences. And so I think the organic farming definitely sparked more from my mom's side, and also, a big part of it was, my mom got really sick, with a few different kinds of cancer. What, back in probably in that era, mid 20 teens.
2014, yeah, I was a senior in high
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
Which, you're not going to connect any one disease to one thing, or necessarily that it was, the farm chemicals, but just in general, you know, we believe this is a good business opportunity, but beyond everything else, we really believe in, you know, I think the tools are there to make um, organic farming really productive, and I think it's a lot better for everybody involved. And that has been a long time coming, for many years. Um, so we spent a lot of time thinking about how can we do that.
Mm-hmm.
We're a pretty large farm, not for Idaho, but for Pennsylvania, where, we grow about 800 acres of potatoes every year. You can't just flip a switch and turn that all to organic production. The markets didn't really exist for what, we grow processing potatoes. There's not really a market for processing organic potatoes in the East Coast, or at least, there wasn't not in those quantities.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of time, back as early as 2014, talking about different things that we could do with organic potatoes. And I think
Obviously, chips was the first idea. That was the easiest.
chips would have been the natural thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It was way easier than French fries. Uh,
Yep.
and we already knew how to do it. We knew people that knew how to do it. We already had a brand maybe that we could have somewhat resurrected, but it didn't seem like as good of a fit for organic when we were looking at the market. And I guess maybe we can get into, maybe that's a different question. But essentially, we've gone back and forth with my dad a lot. Like, I don't know if you've seen us interact. We don't. It's not always super harmonious. We
Right.
get along. We all love each other, but we fight a lot. We debate a lot. And so, maybe he wouldn't remember it this way, but I remember initially the organic thing, him not being super hot on when we first began talking about it. But then I remember when I left to go to Oregon, which was partially because, I was a little fed up at the family farm, and I needed to go do something else, was a piece of it. He immediately, as soon as I left, the next year he transitioned like 100 acres. I was like, hey, well, that's a start. I guess someday, someday when I get back, there'll be some organic acres we can start growing some potatoes on. But when we got back, basically we started formulating more of a plan to ramp up that acreage, and as slowly at first, and then pretty quickly as we had a real direction on what we were going to do with all that production.
So the move to organic was really like a philosophical thing, and then finding an outlet for those potatoes is that kind of led to the manufacturing mission after that. Yeah.
Both, I would say, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're also at the point where, like, the fork in the road as a farm where you can either choose to just keep growing more acres, more production, more storage, scale to be more competitive in conventional potatoes, or you need to find a niche as a farm where you can get, higher dollars out of your acres. That was the economic side of it too. Like, just as a farm, what we want to be, what's our future look like. So in addition to the philosophical side, the economic side as a farm, uh, we personally don't want to be growing 3,000 acres of potatoes in your account.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, we're next. I mean, we're like, it's pretty hard growing potatoes in Pennsylvania, like in general.
Sure.
And growing this many is it's a logistic nightmare. We're spread all over, like across the whole county, and you have to have. If we want to grow anymore, we'd have to have layers of management, which means us, being further away from the things we actually like doing about farming, and I just didn't see many good things to come out of that path. It wasn't what we wanted, in addition to, we're gonna have to go swallow up all the other acres in the county, and we'll be the only potato farm left in this county, and that seems kind of lonely also.
Sure. Well, potato farming is certainly difficult in any region, and you've, let alone in Pennsylvania, and I'm sure you've found that there's some challenges with organic along the way too, right? So you've taken a hard job and made it harder in a lot of respects without even getting into the manufacturing side yet. This is just the crop production
or the
side.
brand side.
Or the brand side, yeah. You guys are tackling a lot. Um, So what are some of the, like, maybe just surprising challenges or maybe unsurprising challenges that you just had to work through with the organic crop and growing acreage on organic crop?
Well, the first year we did it, when we grew that first 20 acres for table stock, we were like, this went so well. Like the crop looks great. You know, it's pretty good yields. Like we didn't have any deductions from the pack house we were sending them to. We were like, oh, well, we got this. Like,
And I didn't spend much money on anything either. Like we had like very little money invested. And I was like, man, I have like half the inputs I put into conventional potatoes and I had more revenue. I was like, oh, they're so like it's a gold mine. We're
Why
gonna
is
be
everybody not doing this?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a really good growing season, turns out. So the following year it didn't go that easy. So I think just they were right here, we grew 20 acres right here on the home farm. You're
Mhm.
able to baby them when you're like that. When you start getting to now our acreage is going to be split half and half. So we'll have almost 400 acres next year. It gets into logistically very, very difficult because you're doing so many different field passes. Not a ton. I mean, it's maybe like 2 or 3 extras, but the timing is so crucial. Like if you want this pass to control weeds, like a flaming pass or a tine weeder pass or a cultivator pass, like the ideal time to do that is probably a 24-hour window. And sometimes you plan everything out in chronological order. You say, okay, I'll go through the 1 through 10. I'll go through all my fields. But you might get rained out on one side of the county where you're at, and you need to be on the other side of the county, and you can go over there, and you just spend a lot of time moving around. And so I'd say like the hardest part is logistically just getting everything done and staying organized. And you have to be really hands-on and in your field a lot because you don't have silver bullets to go take care of problems. You have to be very preventative. You're seeing the problems way before, by the time you're seeing you have weeds, it's way too late. There's nothing you can do about it. So you're all of the it's a ton of really good rotational planning and cultural management of planting the right cover crops, having the right rotation crops, doing the right tillage passes, scaling out your seed bed if you have a really high weed pressure, and then and picking the right varieties that have the right resistances for the kind of problems you have. If you do all that stuff right, then it can go pretty well. But once you have problems, you can't really deal with them the same way that you can in conventional.
And Zach, are you learning this as you go, or do you have like a peer group or a resource pool that you can pick up tips and tricks about some of these organic practices?
Not really.
Yeah.
There's people out there. Like I'm starting to meet people that are doing it.
Mhm.
I haven't really spent the time to go out and learn from them yet. So I think those resources are there. They're pretty hard to find.
Gotcha.
Um, so I think by the time I've figured out a lot of the really hard stuff in the last few years.
Yep.
So
And you don't get a lot of iterations at it, right? Like you
no,
one a
you
year.
don't in general. I mean, like yeah, you get there's the
40 chances, right?
40 chances, Howard Buffett's book.
Mhm.
They get 40 chances at growing a good crop as a farmer.
Yeah.
Um, so and
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So you figured out organic potato farming. You're now up to 400 acres. You decided to, I believe you guys have decided to transition the entire farm to organic in the near future, right?
It's
yeah,
actually
Yeah.
all of our ground is in transition at this point. You know,
every acre that we own or have a long-term lease on is in transition. Yeah.
So you're going to have lots of organic potatoes coming out of the ground. And so a market for your potatoes is definitely this brand you've built, this frozen potato brand, Folkland Foods. So tell us about what the nexus for that idea was. And we don't have to get into too much detail unless you want to. We get all the time you care to take on it. But tell us how Folkland came to exist, and then we'll get into some more details.
I mean, we knew what we had, which was the ability to grow processing organic potatoes. So, then that puts you into a couple categories. The chips, we thought, there is a market there, but with what we ultimately want to build, we want to build something bigger, an umbrella brand that can go into a lot of different directions. Something that is, more about health and wellness and, clean ingredients, clean products, which we just didn't feel like snack foods aligned with quite as well. And so then you start looking, in the other categories, and that really leads you to frozen. And then we started analyzing the frozen market and seeing kind of the gaps that are on the shelves out there right now, and noticing the lack of competition and the lack of organic, clean ingredient options that were out there.
When we actually did we did this quite a while ago when we really dove into all these different possibilities. It was actually in Oregon when I lived out
We
there.
skipped that whole chapter.
Yeah, because Colt actually came out and lived with us for a little bit. My wife now, Kaylee, and I had moved out there. And then, I was out there for a little bit, and Colt ended up coming out. We actually grew some potatoes out there. Just kind of on the side. I had a very full-time job running a farm, but we grew, a few acres of potatoes basically by hand, completely organically. That'd been the first time we actually did it. Whole other story. It's a saga on its own. But we're pretty successful. Like, we grew really nice potatoes.
Quick pause to share that this episode is brought to you by Projects Consultants, a team of engineers, designers, project managers, and operations experts helping potato processors worldwide maximize the value of every dollar and every spud. Learn more at projectsconsultants.com. That's PROJEX consultants.com.
We learned a lot of the things we would need to do. We did it all by hand. So we're like, okay, hell no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do it like that ever again. But someday when we have access to equipment again, taught us a ton. And then also we were like, okay, we had packed them into little medley packs of red, yellow, and purple for the table market, and sold them locally into a few smaller regional things, not any major grocery stores or anything, but okay, and that's also not the market we want to be in. We want to be in some kind of CPG end product, finished good product. And then like Colt was saying, that's when we dove into, okay, so wow, there's actually not that many products made out of organic potatoes. And there was so we looked at all these options, and like you said, potato chips seemed like the logical choice. But then we really said, okay, no, when we do go to do this, if we're going to do this, the opportunity really seems like frozen for all our mission and our values and everything we want to do. Seems like we can do the most within frozen potatoes. That's really the opportunity. And that was back in 2019.
It was COVID. Yeah, 2019, 2020.
2020. Yeah. And so then we kind of put that on the shelf, and life happened. We kept doing our thing. We talked about doing it out in Oregon on our own. But realistically, we put it on the shelf. Colt moved back. And then we said, well, someday we're going to do it. We're going to wait for the right time. And then like we said, we're kind of ramping up that organic acreage here on the farm. And then we kind of hit a point where we had enough, okay, now we have enough product we could probably launch something with. And then we kind of figured, well, maybe we might even do this for a few years until we really get our bearings and decide how we're going to do this. And that's when Brian Garlick came back into the picture, like a sign from God. because it had been kind of like we'd been increasingly talking about it. And then Brian Garlick, who's an old family friend, and our co-founder in Folkland, back from the Troyer Farms days, he became available. He left his job in pet food, but Trisha, who's our CFO, is like very, very supportive. She's been shooting down our ideas for decades, between us and my dad. So she
has a drawer of dead dreams, as she calls it. All of the files of
my dad calls her the
projects that
deflator
never
of
made it up.
dreams.
Deflator of dreams. That's quite a title.
The deflator of dreams. Yeah.
But not so for Folkland.
No, because she actually so she said, "Oh, do you guys know Brian Garlick's available?" And we're like, "No." Very interesting. And me and Colt were like, "Okay, let's come up with the pitch for this idea and see if we can get everybody on board." And so we went to my dad and Trish here and we're like, "Hey, it's a big opportunity. We actually think we can do this, and we think we're uniquely suited to do this thing." And everybody was like, "Yeah, actually, I think we probably could do this." Which is, it kind of is, it's a little bit of hubris in a way, like to think that we could do it, but you have to be a little delusional to think you're going to pull off something big. And realistically, we do. We have a lot of really good, even though we're like a little mom and pop hole in the wall farm. Like if you've ever been here, we are not very buttoned up, polished organization. But we have a lot of really good, talented people. And then you added Brian Garlick into that mix. And it wasn't that crazy to think that, yeah, actually we might be able to do this.
I mean, it was within probably 24 hours that we had the conversation with, our dad and Trisha. They called Brian, I think, that night. It was probably within 2 or 3 days that we decided we're doing this.
And this is without having any idea on what exactly the brand would look like, or who you would sell product to, or what your channels would be. Or even exactly what you were going to sell. It's just like, let's figure this out, because you sense an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean,
well, it just aligned with everything else that we had in place already, and and for the kind of business that we wanted to build too. Like you don't often get those times where everything lines up. Like there's plenty of other ideas that we had before this that we could make money at. This would be a very successful business idea. We could do this. It's not very often that you get those ideas and that it's also everything you believe in, and you can put behind, and you're not just doing it for money. You're doing it because it's what you love and it's the right thing to do. So it was, it was an idea that just had to be done. It couldn't be put on a shelf. Not even Trisha could deflate this dream.
We did have to promise all other projects, all other dreams were getting shelved.
Yeah, we did. We promised not to do anything else until, well, we didn't put it. We'll do something else at some point. But
well, I happen to know that you still are pushing and innovating within your Folkland brand and your operations there, and we'll talk a bit about that too. But so yeah, I'm just layering up the challenges here. Like 4th generation farmers, most businesses don't make it that long. You're growing organic and now transitioning the entire farm to organic. You want to build a brand, which a lot of manufacturers, or you might start with some sort of co-manufacturing angle and build their brand once there's traction. But you went straight to brand. The brand's amazing. And then you decided to do your own manufacturing as well, not have somebody else manufacture your organic potatoes into your organic farm fries. So why did you guys want to do the manufacturing as well? did you even look for co-manufacturing opportunities,
Not
or
as
you
hard
just
as we
wanted to have it all?
not as hard as we should have.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what it came down to is we're kind of control freaks about product. Uh,
Mhm.
and to make a product exactly the way we wanted it, I don't think it would be possible to get it co-manufactured. Um, and that was a a foundational piece of the brand is that we're going to make the product exactly how we think it needs to be made and take no shortcuts ever. And always have full transparency on how we're doing everything with the consumer, because we want to build ultimate trust. Like we
Yep.
don't we if you have nothing to hide ever, and you are being honest and truthful, and it everything that you're telling to the consumer is actually true, then we think long term, that's how you build a really successful brand. So I don't think it would have been a smarter business decision probably to find a co-packer, and I think we would have done very well to do that. But I don't think it was ever really on the table because of what we wanted to do.
Your product is unique on the market. So tell us a bit about the product that you manufacture and what makes it so special and unique and loved. I mean, you're getting tremendous reception from the market on it.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the potato variety we're choosing is even the most foundational piece. Like we're kind of snobs in that way. We eat crumb potatoes our whole lives, so we definitely have preferences. And most fries are made out of russets, which are good fries, perfectly fine fries. But there are certain varieties that we liked better that we wanted to grow specifically for this. So uh, kind of shot ourselves in the foot with that too. Again, you're making things more difficult by narrowing, the potential supply um, of your product. But we're pretty adamant that that's what we wanted to make. And then going into the oils we wanted to use. So you know, Zach and I are home cooks. We cook a lot. We're partial to olive oil. That's something we use in our homes a lot. And it's, the most premium oil you can get, pretty much. It's got a cleaner finish, cooler taste. And then it happened to be coinciding with this, seed oil free movement, which, you know, that wasn't really the driving factor behind the decision for us. The seed oil
I
free
don't think it
thing.
was even really a thing out there, was it, when we were
No, it happened to
product?
be coinciding with the decision, which was like, just another sign. But like, okay, well,
Mhm.
perfect. This
With
is,
organic olive oil as well, right? Like you're
yeah,
100% organic,
organic
clean
olive
label
oil. Yeah,
ingredients.
it's
Hmm.
coming from Spain right now. Yeah. So then another difficulty is, supply chain when you're importing oil like that. It's another difficulty. But then, the things we're using in the product to um, still have the same effects of, there's things like sodium acid pyrophosphate and things like that that are in a lot of conventional French fries. We found natural alternatives to that you can find in your own kitchen. Slightly more expensive, but clean ingredient label, something that you can trust a lot more. And then ultimately down to seasoning. So we do seasoned French fries as well. We've got, our Himalayan salt, got a garlic rosemary, and we've got a Cajun spice. But even down to like the choice to use Himalayan salt was, you know, very intentional, because even in like sea salt, there can be microplastics and things like that. And then in the garlic rosemary and the seasoning blends, we were very deliberate with making sure there are absolutely no processing aids, no additives, no rice flour, anything else in there, which makes it more difficult in the factory, right? Things clump up, and it's another thing that we have to overcome in the actual production process. But we just wanted, as Zach was saying, it to be as trustworthy as possible, as clear as possible. Like what is on that ingredient list is what's in your product.
Hmm. And you guys, your brand went straight to retail. I mean, you're a startup business that built a brand that targeted retail from day one. What I mean that I hear that that's very challenging from a lot of CPG founders, right? So like you guys have managed to do it, and maybe you can share a bit about like how you went to market and where your products are available now, and how that's working out for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge learning curve to start, right? It's a completely different industry. There's all different terminology, different relationships, different systems in place for how to reach retailers and
Mhm.
review calendars and all of that. So, I mean, we really just dove in and started going to trade shows and started making connections and talking to people and finding brokers. And, ultimately we landed our first, we landed our first customer, which was Giant Eagle, uh, about 130 stores in Pennsylvania, Ohio, before we had even made a French fry on the line yet. So the pressure was really on at that point. You have this date that it's going to launch, and our factory's not ready, and we're waiting on contractors, and freezer systems aren't working yet. So like that timeline was really stressful, but we knew we had to like really push the envelope to get product made because we had already grown the potatoes for this too, so they're sitting in storage. So if we don't get them made, uh, then all of that product is rotting away, and then you have nothing until that next season comes around. So that was kind of the pressure driving it. But we don't know how good we have it, I guess, compared to a lot of other products. From what we hear, it's exceptionally easy to sell our product because it is so unique and so novel in the frozen aisles. So to us, it still seems really difficult and seemed really hard, but from a lot of other people I've talked to, we've got it. We've had it pretty easy with how quickly it's been received in the market.
I do think also, our definition of hard, I think the CPG side, even if it was quite a bit harder, is a hell of a lot easier than the farming side.
Right.
But
Yeah.
so it depends on what you're used to, I guess. I've heard that from dairy farmers too, right? Like dairy farmers that are very successful with another business outside of dairy farming that people think is very difficult, and they're like, well, I made it in dairy farming, so I think I can make it in. I think I can make it in something else.
You
So
just have a different level of hard, right? Like you guys are used to getting beat down and challenged, and
yeah,
you've built that grit muscle. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny.
Well, I think
Yeah, everyone's like
go
the
ahead.
cash burn, and a startup brand and stuff, and we're like, oh, we're used to not making money on a farm, like cash flow is always a problem. So this is part of the course.
Hmm. Well, I guess you said I don't know. Sometimes we don't know how good we have it because the product is exceptionally easy to sell. I think that speaks to how the power of having that unique niche product, right? Like you saw that there was that gap and that demand out there, and it's getting traction right away because your assumptions or your research was obviously correct, and it's just getting gobbled up now in the market, which is phenomenal. The product is excellent. It's not just words and ideas. It tastes delicious and it looks amazing. So I know that. And Colt, you just came from a show, right? The PA Farm Show,
Yeah, yeah,
demoing your product.
got to get in front of a lot of people. We've got, we're in Giant down that way in like Eastern PA. Yeah, we
Mhm.
served 30,000 samples, but we're just saying like you, every person that grabs a cup, like they just try and grab a sample and keep going. And then you see them like stop and like look back at the booth and then like walk back over and start asking questions. It's
which
really
I
awesome
was saying,
experience.
I mean, I don't even quite get, like, I think our fries are pretty good. I don't think they're actually that good. Like, I don't think I would turn around and be amazed
Yeah.
When you know they're a
But
frozen fry, I guess it's different, right? Like, when you tell me this is a frozen fry you can buy at your grocery store, and then the one guy was like, "So you're telling me if I cook this at home, this is the way it's gonna be?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's frozen. We put it in an air fryer, and then we served it to you." He's like, "Wow, that's."
yeah.
I was like, "Okay."
So you're in Giant Eagle. What other retailers are your products found in?
Yeah, so Giant Eagle was our first. So
Mm-hmm.
we landed in June in Giant Eagle, about 130 stores there.
Wow.
Then we got Mom's Organics, which was down, DC area, Virginia. Um, our our big win was Sprouts Farmers Market. So we landed that in September. They took a huge risk on us because we had no sales data at that point. We weren't even sure we were going to have enough product to supply them when they needed it with that September launch, because most of it was, from out of storage from the previous season. So we landed in about 450 Sprouts nationwide. So that was the big jump, right? That's opening up a ton of different distribution channels, a lot of product out the door, and really long payment terms on that stuff. So that was the big win. Then we've gotten Giant Company, which is down in Eastern PA now, a ton of independents, and we've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline for the first quarter here. So we're in about 1,000 stores right now, with being on shelf for, I guess, 7 months now since we actually hit shelves for the first time, and we are expecting to be in about 3,500 by this time next year.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations, guys. That's
Thank you.
super. So that's you answered part of my question. What's kind of next for Folkland? You're looking to more than triple, I guess, your sales footprint in the next year. What else is in the pipeline for you guys and the brand?
We're launching new product at Sprouts, February 2nd. So if you check the frozen aisle there, you'll see something new, and it has quite a different flavor profile than anything else out there right now. Same deal, all cool ingredients, all stuff you can find in your own kitchen, but really, really
Really
interesting
good.
profile.
Yeah, they're really good. Yep. But no, I think we just view it. We don't really view ourselves as just a French fry brand. We really do it as a platform, a food and agriculture company that there's a lot of directions within potatoes for sure. There's many things you can make out of potatoes first, but um, I don't think we're just stuck on just potato products either. Like that's why we made the brand that we did. We wanted something that you could go into a lot of different product types, um, because we think really at the heart of what people really love about our products is that we're using like real actual like um culinary technique in the way we're developing products like you would at home or like from a chef, and we're
Mhm.
finding a way to do that on scale, um and we're making them with only ingredients that you know uh people can pronounce and understand, and it's all completely real, and and the story is compelling, right? I mean, so uh we feel like all of those things together, they're just you know it's really a really powerful mix, and we'll end up doing all sorts of stuff, no doubt. I don't know exactly what they all are, but we've got at least a few years of uh we've got a few years of new product launches uh planned out or that we want to do, and then from there who knows. But
At least one more. We're launching the one in February, and then at least one more this fall coming down the pipeline too.
Very cool. Well, you guys have definitely accomplished a lot in a couple short years, really standing up the brand, standing up a manufacturing facility, launching in retail, getting that initial traction. Um, Kudos to you guys. Yeah.
yeah, but we
Yeah.
made a lot of mistakes before we did this too, so we had some of them out of our system before we went to do this. But I think also you know, Colt and I work very hard, but we have like I said, we have a super team and we've met the right people along the way.
Right.
I don't know if that's because we're very fortunate and the people that we run into in the world, or if we're good at finding good people. But like yourself, Mike, like we found the right person to help us put together the vision when you helped Brian, plot this whole thing out. Um, and uh, and Brian Garlick, is he is a unique talent at this sort of thing, because he didn't have a single idea on how to make a French fry when we started,
Mhm.
um, but he, like us, was able to find the right people and put the right put the right plan together and the right team and make it happen. And so, but it speaks to a little bit the way we do business too, which is a big part of our mission. Also, is um, something that when things get super transactional, as most businesses in the world today, you lose a lot of the ability to do interesting and beautiful things.
Right.
And so if you go through the world and you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, um, sometimes you know you're blessed with good fortune, and that's, I think, in our case, something we learned from our grandfather and our dad, that it's gonna continue to reward us with success in the future too. So
Yeah, well said, Zach. And I appreciate having met you guys, being a part of this journey with you in our way. And it's been really exciting to watch. And again, thank you. I'm very grateful to have been involved in it. Um, so I think it's probably time we should wrap up, but I want you to maybe share where people can learn more about you guys and the Folkland brand.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us at folklandfoods.com, learn a little bit more about our processes on the farm here. Some of the practices that we do here. You can follow us on Instagram, Folkland Foods, follow us on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel as well where we like to say clean food is dirty work. So our YouTube channel, we like to show the process of what it's like to actually grow organic food. And it's not all, pretty farm scenery and rainbows. It's a lot of mud and rocks and broken equipment along the way. But yeah, you can find our products in stores all over the country. Find us on the store locator on our website. Really appreciate the support as we're launching this. And it's not just us. We also have, a few other small family farms that are growing potatoes for us as well that is helping support. So,
and we're actively looking for new growers to expand our network of contract growers across the country. We got have a trajectory and we want to keep growing. Our goal is to get as many organic products on the market as possible. So
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for joining me today. I know you're very busy with everything going on the farm and in the factory, and I really appreciate it. So, thank you very much.
no,
yeah,
thanks, Mike.
thanks,
It's
Mike.
been fun.